Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Celebrate You, the podcast for personal development, career growth, entrepreneurship, and money. And many of us during the pandemic have started a little passion project or have grown our passion projects. And many of us have done that in the food industry. And that is why today our guest will take us through the survival guide to make this happen. So today we have Pilar Garcia. She is the founder of Pendulum, and basically what she does is she works with independent restaurants so that they can become more profitable. So Pilar, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Moni. Thank you. And hi, everyone. I'm very excited to be here and having this chat with you.
Thank you. Okay, so yeah, like I said, many of us started passion projects during like this year and a half of the pandemic. But this topic is super important because we just started out of boredom or just like passion, basically. And sometimes we may have missed the thinking process of all the numbers, the financials, the money, and you're an expert in all of this. So, can you tell us a little bit about you, what you do, Pendulum, and where do you fit in this picture?
Yeah, sure. So, well, I think it's very important what you said. Well, I work with Pendulo. Pendulo, what it is an app that does cost control for restaurants. And what it does is to track all those key performance indicators that are very important for the restaurants, like the food cost or the staff cost. Those are the two main ones because they're costs that you can control, and there are others that would be fixed, like the rent or something else. So it's very important to control the ones we can't. The ones we have an impact on them. So that is what Pendulo does as an app, and I also do consultancy and trying to help independent restaurants, and I also do training because I think that if people don't understand the why do they need to do that, why do they need to control this, or why do I need to get this ratio, or it's very hard if you don't understand the why to actually do something. So I do help independent restaurants, but I've been helping a few friends that this time they were like, oh, I want to do this. I'm very excited. And I say, okay, if you're going to do it, let's do the numbers because I feel like sometimes you need to do the numbers before you even start a business. Because
Yep.
if you don't have an idea of how much you need to sell your products or like how much of your product you need to sell to make it profitable. And what is the price? What is the customer? How much you need to sell? What is your break even point? The number of sales to cover all your costs. And this sounds like a lot of maybe a bit complex or a bit overwhelming for some people that they don't like Excel spreadsheets and they don't like maths that much. But I recommend everybody that they do this exercise if they don't know how to do it on their own, to call someone because with very basic information you can understand if the business will be profitable or not, or what you need to do to make that business profitable. So I've had
Yeah.
actually talked with a couple of friends and did some numbers for them. I mean, one of them was shampoo and conditioner, like very natural, and everything was, you know, um, zero plastic, and so the product is very, very nice. But when we did a bit of the costings and all that, she realized she had to change her business model because she was never going to make a profit if she was going to do it that way. So yeah, that's my biggest advice. Like I am really a dream crusher because people come like, oh, I want to do this, and I'm like, okay, if you do this like that, it won't happen. So I mean, it's not a dream crusher. I think it's good that it's telling you cannot do it like that. So we work on a way of making it profitable. You know,
Yeah. So that example, it's such a beautiful example because it's like exactly friends starting the cakes business or food delivery business or exactly soaps, things like that. In your opinion, other than probably not looking at the numbers, what are the biggest mistakes that people do when starting a business like that?
Well, I think some people, well, they think about the sales and they don't think about the real profit. Because actually, you mentioned a cake business, and I know someone, and I said, but if you do it that way, you have to sell 200 cakes, and you're working in your kitchen. How are you going to do that? Isn't it better to increase the price because she had a very high profile? And she was like, oh yeah, maybe, yeah. So maybe you sell, 30, but they are at a better price. I think is you need to think about all the areas of the business before you go and say, yeah, I'm going to do this. Because I think it saves you a lot of mistakes. Just the basics of finance, the basics of operations, the basics of, like with fulfillment. Like some people are like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to be selling this online. Okay, but then you need to post it and you need to have a guarantee or you need to have an insurance and, it's a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are very, really good points because many people think about the basics of marketing. But no, can you guide us through the basics of finance and then the basics of
No,
fulfillment?
well, the basics of finance is like it depends. For example, I'm an expert in the restaurant industry, and I know what are the ratios we need to get, like what is the food cost, the staff cost, rent, marketing, where are our percentage, and how much we need to spend in each category to actually, at the end of the day, make a profit. Because some people say like, wow, they make 50,000 pounds a week in sales, yeah, but maybe they are not making any profit, you know? So it all depends. So I think in every business you need to be aware of that. What are the ratios of your business and where you should be in order to make a profit because sales can be done. That is about profit. So that works for everything. And then in terms of fulfillment, let's say like for people that want to have an online business, it's like sometimes Amazon gets a commission if you do it with Amazon. Then there are like there are storage places where they actually storage the thing for you, and then they also post it. But you need to usually you pay a fee plus a fixed amount per item. So all this is already, exactly true.
Cutting your margin.
Cutting your margins. And if you don't know all this before you start, you are like, oh yeah, if I sell 1,000 of this thing that costs 100, I'm going to be rich. And then once you start like taking all the cost, it's like, oh my God, you know? So yeah, it's, I think it's interesting. And in some business in hospitality, what happens a lot is that we are very lucky in a way. We get the money first. The customer comes, they eat, they pay us, which in other business you have to wait like 30 days, 60 days to get paid. So fantastic, we get the money. Yay. We look at our accounts. Food, we're rich. We're super happy. And then we start paying suppliers, we start paying our team, and then we pay VAT, and then we pay rent. When we realize at the end of the month, we may have been operating on a loss, but because we have cash in our account, we don't realize that we are operating on a loss consistently. And many restaurants they also have issues with cash flow because it's very different in time what you get in your account and then when you pay. So
Yeah.
and also it's also a very common thought. oh, I love cooking, I'm going to open a restaurant. Yeah. And it's not only about cooking, it's about managing a business. And I think sometimes we all get lost. I mean, it happens to me as well. Every time I think of an idea, I try to be like, I am my worst enemy. But what about this? What about that? What about, because I know that you are so excited about an idea that you really wanted to do it. And then I think it's good to talk to people about it, and someone that that can be quite critical, because if you cannot have an honest discussion with a friend or someone about your business and say, like, no, but this is my business idea and this is my business model and I can make it work. Okay, explain me how. And if you can go through that, then it may be able to happen. But I think that those conversations need to happen. And it's usually people are like, oh no, don't do that, don't do that. And it's like, well, that is okay, because if you really want to do it, it's okay to know
You'll
all the
find a
cons.
way.
Yeah, and you'll find a way. I mean, I've changed. I do a lot of things within Pendulo. So it's, I do consultancy and I help business owners to like put in place all the systems and procedures to make sure I train the team so they understand how to do it. Right? And it's very simple. There are things you would think that I'm talking about finances, but really it's like operations are completely linked to finances. So it's just an example, but there's something that they spend a lot of in a restaurant is blue paper. These big rolls, and usually they grab it and they roll it 3 times, and then they have
And
every time they
yeah,
use blue paper. So in one restaurant, I calculated that we used to spend £20,000 a year in blue paper.
wow.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. So that is the thing. Well, it was a group of restaurants, but still a lot. And so this is the thing. If you have a dosifier that it only takes like 2 layers, and that is enough to clean. It's just like we get the habit of like using more. And then there is wastage. So that is a simple thing in operations that is completely linked to your
To your
profit in the end.
balance sheet.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And every pound that you make in hospitality, in the food industry, for example, in a restaurant, if you make £1 more in sales, that doesn't go to your profit, to your bottom line, because if you are selling one more pound, you probably have to, you will have to, it's because you sold a dish that has a cost, and some member of the staff have to be there, so it's an extra cost. But every pound you save, that goes to your bottom line.
Ooh,
Yeah, so
that is so powerful.
it makes a massive difference. Every pound you earn is not what you get, but every pound you save, it is. So, and I like to work with owners, so they give incentives
Yeah.
to their teams. So it's like a win-win. Like if I think that if the business is making more profit, then the team, the
Then
employees need to make a profit as well. And I always, advocate for like profit share and transparency and a lot of things that I help.
yeah.
I think that it helps the team to be involved and to, yeah,
Hmm.
to enjoy more what they're
Yes.
doing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good point, because that at the end will also affect the bottom line.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, yeah. You touched on something very interesting, that is, every pound you earn basically does not go into your profits, but every pound you save, it does go into your profit. Can you go over that again? That's a very interesting concept.
Yeah, so for example, imagine that I sell, that we are, well, as you are Mexican, I'm going to give a Mexican example. Imagine that you sell guacamole, okay? So, and the guacamole, I don't know, I don't know anywhere else, but here in London, it's £7 or £6 a dish. But to sell that, £7, maybe the costing price of that dish is 250 because the avocados are quite expensive. So imagine that it's 250. So even if you sell 7.5, you will still have to pay those 2.5 or whatever. But
Yes.
so, but if you sell the same thing, and imagine that you don't sell that extra guacamole, but you have been able to save £1 in, for example, the blue paper that we're talking about, or chemicals or cleaning products, because some people use way too much. Then that thing that you're saving, that amount will go to your bottom line straight away. And it's I always give an example that happens to all of us, and it's a bit silly, but I think that you will be able to kind of picture what I'm talking about in terms of overspending. So imagine you're at home and you have a toothpaste, yeah. So when you have the whole tube of toothpaste, you go like rah, boom, and you put the
Whack.
whole
Yes.
paste all over the toothbrush, you know. And at the end of when the toothpaste is like running low, you start using very little, very, very little. Like, oh, I managed to get a little bit out, and then you just put it. So
You're
really,
kind of saving.
yeah, you don't really need that much to brush your teeth every day. And the same thing at the restaurant. Sometimes they use too many products, and they, and that is a way of like really making a profit, because hospitality is not a money, it's not a business of pounds, it's a business of pennies, no? It's saving little by
Exactly.
little, you get the money. And that's why, McDonald's, for example, have made such a massive profit, because they have standardized everything, minimized their wastage. They have fine-tuned their operations. And, I mean, I love independent restaurants, but I can see the amazing work that some chains have done in, streamlining their operations and making their business very profitable.
Yes, because actually, that's such a good point. Because when you start as an independent restaurant or independent delivery business, you don't really think about that. As in the mindset of the more optimized my operations process is, and my purchasing system, and how I consume everything that I need to produce my food, the more I optimize that, the more I can save, therefore, the more I can make.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that people try to save, but sometimes I think they try to save money in the wrong categories. Like, and I understand, because as a business owner, I can have the same issue. Like sometimes you don't want to spend in marketing or PR, because you're like, oh, I'm doing these adverts and they're not working, and I'm not getting any return. But it's like, it's kind of a snowball. If you don't do it, you don't get, and then you don't really. So, and sometimes some businesses, they don't even get to that point of breaking even, because they don't invest in in marketing or PR or things like that. So they save, let's say they save in things they shouldn't be saving, and then in important things like understanding what are their costs, or they are not trying to save in that. And one of the biggest issues that I find in every single food business is, like, in many cases the costings of the dishes are not done properly. So yeah, I think that is a very common mistake. They they do it in their heads, you know. They say, yeah, this cost me um, £2 more or less. but really maybe it's 2.50, and that 50 at the end of the year, if you are selling hundreds or thousands of that product, it's a lot of money. So
Yeah.
if they don't do the costings properly, and you are, then you need to price that product with the margin that you think you should get. And some people, they don't even calculate the margin. They multiply by 3, or they multiply by 4, or they say, no, I think as a customer, I wouldn't pay more than this. Well, but you as a business, if you put it at that price, you're not making a profit. But I don't think
Okay.
a lot of people work out that. Like I do a lot of menu engineering with restaurants where I review all their costings with them, and many times we put it together. I have a spreadsheet that is connecting like the ingredients with the cost, and then you just add it with how much you use of each ingredient, because it's important to have the costings right, because sometimes you're like, what is your food cost? And they're like, oh, it's 30%. And when you actually do the costing, it's like, no, your food cost is 40%. And they didn't know.
Yeah. So the lesson here, yes, the lesson here is do your numbers properly. Take the time to put together a spreadsheet, add everything. You don't know how to reach out to someone who can help, but then stop kind of assuming and guesstimating and just put it on paper so that you know what you're working with.
Yeah, don't do it by, oh, no, I have it all in my head. It's like, okay. I used to I used to try to convince people like, no, but really, like, if you do it this way, but then, I realized that you need to see it yourself. And I mean, I made that mistake as well. Sometimes I wanted to do everything, but I'm not good at being creative. Or like, for example, now I just have a new video created for me, and I hire professionals that can help me, because we can't be good at everything. I mean, or we can have a good understanding of everything, but we can't be very good at
Not the
everything.
experts.
So it's
Yeah.
better to, and I raised my hand. I did that mistake in the beginning of wanting to do everything. Even thought of learning how to code for the app, and then I was like, no, no, no. Now I have my developer team, and they do all the coding, even if I give them the formulas on how things need to work. But it's you think it's an expense, but it's not. It's an investment, which is different.
Oh, that's beautiful. Can you explain in your brain what's the difference between an expense and an investment?
Well, an expense is like, for me, something that you purchase, and then you pay for it, and it can have a use or not, because sometimes, like, you know, but for example, even a chair, it's for me is not an expense. It's an investment, because that's an extra cover that you will be able to have at your restaurant, and that it will last in time. So it's the same like with like a good video for your social media, for example, or good pictures. You will be able to reuse those pictures, and that video in social media will be able to give you exposure. You will be able to reach people, and it will be part of your brand identity. So I see it more as an expense, as an investment, rather than just a purely an expense. So I think you need a change in your mindset, because if you think that
Yes.
everything is an expense, you are tight, you won't expend anything. And then also there are people that think that everything is an investment. They say, yeah, but you're gonna run out of cash. So you need to find this balance. And I work with
Balance.
Yeah, I work with very creative chefs, and I'm like, no, but you cannot do that, because you have 8 elements, and operationally it doesn't work because it's very slow. So to bring the food out is very slow. Um, every element that you add to that dish is an extra cost. And so I kind of have to put creative people back into it and say, no, but you can't afford to do that. So you need to find a balance between, a creative dish with good ingredients and a good production, and but at the same time that is profitable for the business. Because sometimes people tell me, "Oh no, but this is going to work. I really want to do this like this," and I'm like, "Okay, but what do you want? What do you want to have? You want to have a hobby or you want to have a business? Because if you want to have a hobby, fantastic, do that, you know." And I know I do that myself. Sometimes I have like a charity and I do things that I know that I shouldn't be doing because it's not business.
Cost-wise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cost-wise. But I just want to do it because sometimes,
But it's fun.
yeah, I do. And yeah, and even in lockdown, I helped. I was giving consultancy for free because I just felt that a lot of people were lost. So we didn't charge our customers for the use of the app, and I decided not to charge for consultancy and trying to just help people. So we all do things that are out of the that are not going to be
The logic.
profitable. Yeah, out of the budget, and
Yeah.
but at least we need to know. We need to be aware that we're doing those things. It's like some people do it and they don't even realize that what they're doing is not
Correct.
profitable.
That's a very good point, because one thing is to say exactly like you on how you run your business and say, cool, I am giving this for free on purpose, or I am running a charity and I'm over investing, or I am running a podcast and I am investing in doing audiograms. No, I don't have to. I just want to. Yes, I'm paying to do that. But it's a very conscious decision.
Yeah.
Unlike, hey, having all these costs, assuming that you're profitable, and once you do your numbers, then you're not. That's a difference.
Yeah. No, definitely.
It's a very good point. So I wanted to ask you, I saw on your Facebook page, you recently had a workshop on 7 strategies to survive COVID as we reopen and the world is going back to normal. But there are things that we need to consider instead of just opening, assuming that everything is like it was a year and a half ago.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen that there are people that haven't changed at all the way they used to work or their operations, and it doesn't make sense because the world have changed. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if anyone is interested, they can download them because it's you can download it for free in the website. It's www.penduloforce.com. But I mean, I'll explain a few of them. So, for example, one of them is to work out what's your break-even point. So how much you need to sell in order to cover all your costs. Because sometimes
Yeah.
at one point it was better to be closed than to open for the money you could get, because there was nobody out there that would actually buy your product. And then once you know that, it's not only in a restaurant, you don't only calculate it by year or by month or by week. You should go by shift. So what I've done with a lot of my restaurants is like, see, okay, this shift you are not making a profit, so we're gonna close it because the food cost and the staff cost is already more expensive than what we're getting on that shift. So and a lot of restaurants are doing this. If you would see that now a lot of restaurants are closed at lunchtime because there are no offices, there is no trade. People are at home and they have lunch at home. So many restaurants have reduced the opening hours. And when you reduce your opening hours, you are reducing your staff costs because you reduce your team. So you have also it's easier to manage a smaller team. So that is something that you need to review shift by shift, checking how much does it cost you to have the restaurant open on that shift and how much money you make, because you could be operating on a loss. And before we used to check monthly or weekly, but now it's even daily because this is you make it or you die. A lot of restaurants have closed already, you know, unfortunately.
Yes. Unfortunately. Yeah.
So this is my advice, work out how much you would make on that day and don't open unless you have an event or special request or something like that. And also there is this thing of having new revenue streams. Some people are doing dailies at the restaurant. They sell like basic ingredients. A lot of people are using delivery operators, like to deliver their food to other to homes. But you need to be very aware that they get a commission of 25 or 30%. So you need to do the numbers as well before you start working with these operators.
Paying.
Exactly. So that is another thing. I think that we are living in a time where we need to review almost every day. For example,
Every day.
right now is the Euros, and so what does that mean? For pubs, fantastic. Most of them have like the big screens, but for restaurants, you know, what do? You forecast your sales are going to go down, and you reduce hours or
Adjust.
give holidays to your team on certain days because you're not going to have so much business. So, and you can see it because you can see how many bookings you have for this weekend, and you will be able to see if, oh, it's a bit low if you compare it with last week. So,
Yeah.
and you know that when it's going to rain, or when it's very cold, or when it's very sunny, people don't want to go to a restaurant, they want to go to the park. So it's many things to take into account, and they're just like little adjustments. So what I would say is like, know your numbers, adjust your operations so the numbers work, and and best of luck.
That is a beautiful summary. And I want to emphasize on this because probably people do get overwhelmed with numbers. Not only because, well, they've always been important, but like you said, right now, it's something that you have to check on a daily basis and you need to adapt on a daily basis because it is tough out there. And if you don't, then you'll die like many others have. So I know you have an app. So I was going to say, which other tool? Technology, like technology is our friend, basically. And there are tools that people can use to make this process simple so that then they can focus on the important things. There are currently, like with all these fintechs, like now apps are very easy to use and help people in their finances. But your app not only helps people, it's not the traditional I help people with their finances, but you help restaurants with this process as well. Can you explain to us a little bit about what the app does?
Yeah. So basically, well, I don't know if I told you about this, but we have integrated artificial intelligence now. So basically, you can take a picture and it just uploads the data of like the amount, the supplier, and the category, like if it's food or drinks or what is it. And
Yeah.
basically, you could do everything that you do in the app with in Excel spreadsheet, but because all my chefs used to hate the spreadsheets, I decided to build an app. So basically,
Oh.
yeah, that's how I started. I used to train chefs, and they would all break my spreadsheets. I didn't know how they could break them if the spreadsheet was protected. So, so that's how I identified that there was a need of something simple that you can just add the data in a way that it's very easy and not in a spreadsheet. But then at the end of the week or at the end of the day, Pendulo gives you a report and it tells you what is the food cost, what is the staff cost. So it's basically like it takes all the information and shows it to you in a way that you can see this key performance indicators of the restaurant, like the food cost, drink cost, staff cost. So, and there is a tracker so you can identify trends and see week by week what is your average spend, how many covers you had, what is the percentage of sales of food and drinks. Because if, for example, you sell 50% of food and drinks, that's okay. But if you sell 70% of drinks and 30% of food, your operations are usually easier because it's easier to give you a soft drink or a beer than producing a dish of food. So,
Yeah.
so you will have all this data and you just pull out the report and the app put all the information together so you can see it in an easy way.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what.
Yeah. It sounds like wonderful way to simplify the process.
Yeah, I mean that was the idea. I wanted something that my chefs, like the people that I've worked with for all these years, could understand and that they liked. I mean, so far, some of my friends started to taste it 5 years ago, and since then they're like, they love it. And I told them, you're never gonna pay for the app because I'm so grateful that you helped me test it. And he's like, no, but if you want to if you want, we can pay, but I want to use it. Don't take it away. I'm like, no, don't worry. So it's just like I'm very happy that it's useful for them, and because that was the whole idea, to help the independent, because big groups have a central office with someone that will be inputting data, will be they will have big systems, but these systems are very expensive for an independent restaurant. I mean, I don't think I will be rich with Pendulo, but I think I will be very happy, which is my aim in life.
Happy.
Um, I
Amazing.
think it's great. Our mission is to help independence.
Yes, I can see that. And it seems like you have a lot of experience, exactly years of experience working with them. Therefore, it's very easy for you to highlight what are the mistakes and how to fix them.
Yeah,
So,
because the same mistakes happen in all restaurants, eh?
yes,
And
yeah,
there are people that
exactly.
tell me like, oh, but how do you know we do that? And I, well, because I've seen it before. And many things are the
Exactly.
same in many restaurants because it just happens. But yeah, I mean,
So if
you asked about technology.
so where can
Yeah, sorry.
go ahead.
No, like there are other technology out there. There are software that do like a rota planner. I think that there are also softwares out there. Some softwares give you too much information and they're very expensive. So, you know, but even an EPOS system, which is the point of sale, they give you good information about what is your best seller. I do this exercise with chefs and say, what are your best sellers? Give me the order. They never get them right. Like I say, like give me the five, and they get the order wrong, or because it's good to have a report that you can download and say, okay, these are my best sellers, and I need to keep these ones, and this one is good sell. Like it could be a very good seller, and sometimes you have to kill it because you realize that that dish is not profitable, but you realize later. So you have to or change the dish or change the
Or
price
just replace.
or kill it.
Yeah. Wow. There's a lot of science and thinking behind running a food business.
It is. It is. I think that people are
Yes.
very naive when they go and like, I love cooking. I'm gonna open a restaurant. Well, it's a bit more. It's more complicated, but I think that if you
Yeah.
are organized, it can be done. It's just like there are some basics that you need to know.
Yes. And I think we covered a lot in this session. So if you are listening, then it's important for you to and you run a food business, of course, then it's important to kind of go back through these and then find one or two things that you're like, yeah, I think I need to work on that, and then implement those. Otherwise, it's just listening to a nice chat. But if you take like good takeaways, then it's a useful use of your time, actually. Thank you so much, Pilar. So, where can we find you? Where can we download the ebook and the app?
So the ebook, you can go to www.penduloforce.com and you will be able to, you will get a pop-up actually, and then it will ask you if you want to download it. So I think it has like 50 pages of advice. I think I
Okay.
went a bit into detail. And the app is an online app. There is a free trial for 30 days, but I would suggest
Okay.
people to actually book a demo because it's easier to explain and also to see what's the best way of making the most out of the app. Because the app is an online app, so it's you don't really
Hmm.
download it; it's online. So you can have it on your
It's online, yeah.
yeah, you can have it on your phone as a direct login. But I
Yeah.
would suggest that they book an appointment because then it's easier to identify how they can make the best out of it and what are the areas because sometimes
Perfect.
they don't know what's the area that they need to improve.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been super insightful, like super insightful how running a business or a food business in this case, it is about the numbers. It is not just about the passion. Passion is important, but it is about the numbers. Money is important.
Mm.
So thank you so much, Pilar.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and it's very nice to chat to you every time.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Speak to you soon again next week, I hope. And have a beautiful day. Thank you. Bye bye.